If you're receiving Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, listen up. In 2026, millions of Americans are seeing significant increases in their monthly payments. And depending on your situation, you could be receiving well over $1,330 every single month. But here's the thing, not everyone qualifies for the same amount, and understanding exactly what you're eligible for can make a real difference in your financial planning this year. So today, we're breaking down everything you need to know about these 2026 payment increases, who qualifies, how much you can expect, and most importantly, how to check your own eligibility right now. Let's start with the big news. The Social Security Administration announced a 2.8% cost of living adjustment, or COLA, for 2026. Now, you might be thinking, what does 2.8% really mean for my monthly check? Well, that percentage translates into real dollars that can help offset rising costs for groceries, utilities, medications, and everything else you need to live comfortably. This 2.8% increase applies across the board to Social Security retirement benefits, Supplemental Security Income or SSI, Social Security Disability Insurance known as SSDI, and the Department of Veterans Affairs also applied this same 2.8% increase to VA disability compensation. These adjustments started showing up in payments at the beginning of 2026. So if you're already receiving benefits, you should be seeing this increase reflected in your bank account or on your payment card. But here's where things get interesting and why so many people are talking about that $1,330 figure. The amount you receive depends entirely on which program you're enrolled in, your work history, your disability rating if you're a veteran, and several other factors. Let me break down each major program so you can see exactly where you stand. Let's start with Social Security retirement benefits, since this is what most seniors receive. According to the Social Security Administration, the average retirement benefit in 2026 is approximately $2,023 per month. That's the typical amount for someone who worked a full career and claimed benefits at their full retirement age. But Social Security isn't one size fits all. If you delayed claiming until age 70, maximizing your delayed retirement credits, and you had consistently high earnings throughout your career, you could receive the maximum benefit of around $4,018 per month. On the other hand, if you claimed early at age 62 or had lower lifetime earnings, your monthly check might be closer to $1,200 or $1,500. The key thing to understand is that Social Security is based on your 35 highest earning years. The system takes your earnings, adjusts them for inflation, calculates your average, and then applies a formula to determine your benefit. With the 2.8% COLA, whatever you were receiving in 2025 gets that boost in 2026. Now let's talk about Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. This program is designed for elderly, blind, or disabled individuals who have limited income and resources. SSI is different from Social Security because you don't need work credits to qualify. Instead, eligibility is based on financial need. For 2026, the maximum federal SSI payment for an individual is $994 per month. If you're part of an eligible couple, the maximum is $1,491 per month. Now, you might be thinking, wait, that's less than the $1,330 mentioned in the title. And you're right for individuals receiving only SSI. But here's what many people don't realize. You can receive both Social Security and SSI at the same time if your Social Security benefit is low enough. Let's say you worked part of your life and qualify for a small Social Security payment of $500 per month. SSI would supplement that up to the maximum threshold, bringing your total closer to that $994 mark. Additionally, some states add their own supplemental payments on top of the federal SSI amount, which can push your total monthly income above $1,330 depending on where you live. To qualify for SSI in 2026, you generally need to have less than $2,000 in countable resources if you're single, or $3,000 if you're a couple. Countable resources include things like bank accounts, stocks, and bonds, but not your home or one vehicle. Next, we have Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. This is for people who worked and paid Social Security taxes but became disabled before reaching retirement age. The average SSDI payment in 2026 is approximately $1,589 per month. Just like with retirement benefits, the maximum SSDI payment mirrors the maximum retirement benefit at around $4,018 monthly, though very few people reach that maximum. Your SSDI amount is calculated based on your lifetime earnings before you became disabled. Here's a real-world example. Imagine John, who worked as an electrician for 20 years before a back injury prevented him from continuing his career. John's average earnings during his working years were around $50,000 annually. Based on Social Security's benefit formula, John might receive about $1,800 per month in SSDI. With the 2.8% COLA, that increases to approximately $1,850 in 2026. To qualify for SSDI, you need to meet Social Security's definition of disability, which means you have a medical condition that prevents you from working and is expected to last at least 1 year or result in death. You also need sufficient work credits, typically 40 credits for most people, though younger workers may qualify with fewer. Now let's turn to VA disability compensation. This is where things work a bit differently. The Department of Veterans Affairs assigns disability ratings from 0 to 100% in 10% increments. Your monthly payment depends on your rating. With the 2.8% increase for 2026, here's what veterans can expect. A veteran with a 50% disability rating receives approximately $1,132.90 per month. At 60%, that jumps to about $1,435.02 monthly. A 70% rating brings around $1,813.03. At 80%, it's approximately $2,107.39. A 90% rating pays about $2,367.25 per month. And for veterans rated at 100% disabled, the monthly compensation is around $3,938.58. These are the base rates for a single veteran with no dependents. If you have a spouse, children, or dependent parents, your payment increases further. For example, a 100% disabled veteran with a spouse and 2 children under 18 could receive over $4,200 per month. To qualify for VA disability compensation, you need to have served in the military and have a disability that's connected to your service. The VA evaluates your medical evidence and assigns a rating based on how severely your condition affects your ability to function. Let me give you another real-world scenario to illustrate how this works. Meet Margaret, a 72-year-old widow. Margaret worked as a teacher for 25 years before staying home to raise her children. When she applied for Social Security, her benefit was calculated at $1,400 per month based on her own work record. However, because her late husband had higher lifetime earnings, Margaret also qualified for a survivor benefit. After Social Security compared both amounts, Margaret receives the higher survivor benefit of $2,100 per month. With the 2026 COLA increase of 2.8%, Margaret's monthly check rises to approximately $2,159. That's an extra $59 each month to help cover groceries, medications, and utilities. Margaret doesn't receive SSI because her Social Security benefit is above the income threshold, and she has savings that exceed the resource limits. But her Social Security alone puts her comfortably above that $1,330 mark. Or consider Robert, a 60-year-old Air Force veteran who served 2 tours overseas and developed PTSD and chronic knee pain from his service. The VA evaluated Robert's conditions and assigned him a combined disability rating of 70%. In 2026, Robert receives approximately $1,813.03 per month in VA disability compensation. Because his injuries prevent him from working in his previous career as a mechanic, Robert also applied for SSDI. After a review of his medical records and work history, Social Security approved his claim. Robert's SSDI benefit is calculated at $1,650 per month based on his earnings before disability. Here's the important part. Robert can receive both benefits simultaneously because VA disability compensation doesn't count as income for Social Security purposes. So Robert's total monthly benefit income is approximately $3,463. Both benefits increased by 2.8% in 2026, giving Robert about $97 more per month, or roughly $1,164 extra over the year. Now, You might be wondering how to find out exactly what you're eligible for. The best place to start is the official sources. For Social Security, SSI, and SSDI, visit ssa.gov. Once you create a My Social Security account, you can view your personalized benefit estimate, see your earnings record, and check the status of any applications. The site has calculators that can help you estimate your retirement benefit at different claiming ages or see what your SSDI amount might be based on your work history. If you're already receiving benefits, your account shows your current payment amount and when you can expect the COLA increase to appear in your check. Most people will see the increase starting with their January 2026 payment, though the exact date depends on your birth date and when you normally receive benefits. One thing I want to address because it comes up in the comments of almost every benefits video. What about Medicare premiums? It's true that most Social Security recipients have their Medicare Part B premium deducted directly from their monthly benefit. For 2026, the standard Part B premium is $185 per month, though some higher income beneficiaries pay more. Here's the good news. There's a provision called the Hold Harmless Rule that protects most Social Security recipients. If the Medicare premium increase would reduce your net Social Security benefit compared to the previous year, the premium increase is limited. This means that even after the Medicare premium is deducted, you should still see a net increase in your monthly check thanks to the 2.8% COLA. However, this protection doesn't apply if you're new to Medicare, if you're a higher income beneficiary, or if you're on Medicare but not receiving Social Security yet. If you fall into one of those categories, your premium might reduce some of your COLA increase. Let's also talk about taxes for a moment, because this catches some people by surprise. Depending on your total income, a portion of your Social Security benefits might be taxable. If you file as an individual and your combined income is between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of your benefits may be taxable. Above $34,000, up to 85% could be taxable. For married couples filing jointly, those thresholds are $32,000 and $44,000. Combined income includes your adjusted gross income, non-taxable interest, and half of your Social Security benefits. SSI payments, however, are not taxable. VA disability compensation is also completely tax-free, no matter how much you receive. If you're receiving multiple types of benefits, it's worth consulting with a tax professional or using the IRS's interactive tax assistant tool to understand your specific situation. I also want to address a common concern I hear from viewers. Is the COLA enough to keep up with real expenses? This is a fair question. The COLA is based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which measures inflation across a broad basket of goods and services. Some advocates argue that this index doesn't accurately reflect the spending patterns of seniors, who typically spend more on healthcare and housing than the average worker. While 2.8% is the official increase for 2026, some retirees find their actual costs, especially for prescriptions, medical care, and utilities, are rising faster than that. This doesn't mean the COLA isn't helpful. An extra $50, $70, or $100 per month absolutely makes a difference. But it's worth being realistic and planning your budget accordingly, rather than assuming the increase will cover all rising expenses. If you're approaching retirement or disability and haven't yet applied for benefits, timing matters. For Social Security retirement, claiming at your full retirement age, which is 67 for most people born in 1960 or later, gives you your full benefit. Claiming at 62 reduces your benefit permanently by up to 30%. Waiting until 70 increases it by up to 24%. The right choice depends on your health, financial needs, and life expectancy. For SSDI and SSI, apply as soon as you meet the eligibility criteria because benefits generally aren't paid retroactively beyond 12 months. For VA disability, there's no downside to applying if you have service-connected conditions, and your effective date can sometimes be backdated if you apply within a year of leaving service. Let me leave you with some clear action steps. First, if you're already receiving benefits, you don't need to do anything to get the COLA increase. It happens automatically. Your January or February 2026 payment will reflect the 2.8% boost. Second, check your My Social Security account or your va.gov account to verify your current benefit amount and confirm your personal information is up to date. Third, If you think you might qualify for a program you're not currently receiving, like SSI to supplement low Social Security, or VA disability if you're a veteran with service-connected conditions, visit the official websites or call the SSA at 1-800-772-1213 or the VA at 1-800-827-1000. Don't rely on unofficial sources or scammers who promise to increase your benefits for a fee. The official government resources are free. Fourth, if your financial situation has changed, like you got married, divorced, or had a child, report that to Social Security or the VA because it could increase your payment. And finally, keep records of all your benefit statements and communications with these agencies. It makes resolving any issues much easier. The bottom line is this: 2026 brings real increases to Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and VA benefits, and millions of Americans will receive $1,330 or more each month, depending on their specific situation. You've earned these benefits through years of work or service to our country. Understanding what you're eligible for and making sure you're receiving everything you qualify for is one of the most important financial steps you can take. Visit ssa.gov or va.gov today. Check your personalized benefit information and make 2026 the year you maximize your benefits. If this video helped you understand your 2026 payments better, please share it with family members or friends who might also benefit from this information. And remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the benefits you've rightfully earned.